Shove it, man! So it turns out we've only got 2 of these things left. I know you're all disappointed, but I'll have to come up with something else good for you to watch. Make sure you go over to Top 10 Wrestling's channel right now if you want to see the TNA Lockdown 2010 review. And then also watch episode 8 of TNA vs WWE Monday Night Wars. Otherwise you won't be seeing this series in chronological order, and I know that upsets some of you. We did a collaboration on that video, believe it or not. The link's in the description for both videos. He's entitled it Samoa Joe's Botched TNA Return. It should also be in my TNA vs WWE Monday Night Wars playlist if you want to watch it that way. And in case you are wondering, I am planning on doing my own review of TNA Lockdown and WWE Extreme Rules, but just not right away, so be patient. Anyway, to get this video back on track, this is meant to be the episode where TNA got completely battered in the ratings and had to chuck in the towel. So it must be a bad night for them, right? What on earth happened? Let's get into it and check out episode 9 of the TNA vs WWE Monday Night Wars. Please make sure you subscribe and share this series. We all know this is my best work, but for some reason it doesn't get the views it deserves, so I need your help to share this and make this video popular. Let's do it. So the main news from the last episode of TNA is that RVD is now the TNA World Heavyweight Champion after beating AJ Styles on Impact. They actually got a pretty decent rating last week, a 0.95, so what on earth has gone wrong on this show? Well, let's find out. Hulk Hogan limps out to the ring to start the show. Ugh. Let the car crash commence. Hulk Hogan puts over how great RVD is for absolutely ages. He then says that there will be a new top 10 heavyweight ranking system debuting tonight. Oh dear, if memory serves me correctly, nothing good comes out of this. The Hawk strategy then puts over AJ Styles for a shocker and calls him one of the current greatest wrestlers of all time, whether anyone likes it or not. Hogan then brings out the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion, RVD. He gets on the mic and says thanks, Hulky. He obviously didn't get the memo, it's meant to be thanks, Hawky. RVD then proclaims himself as being Mr. TNA Rob Van Dam. Rob thanks TNA for letting him be himself. Have they? We haven't seen any segments of the Stoner crew around Jeff Hardy's house on 420 yet. RVD just says how great he is basically, and then this brings out AJ Styles and Ric Flair, who is no longer in his pushchair. Hogan calls them the ex-world champions, and the crowd start chanting it, making AJ almost turn as red as Flair's skin tone. AJ calls RVD a hippie freak from Southern California and says that nobody understands him and his ways. Then AJ asks him if he's high. AJ then says that he only lost the title because RVD lubed up the ropes before the match, which caused him to slip and fall. AJ says he'll have his rematch whenever he wants it, and finishes up by saying put that in your pipe and smoke it. Hogan then tries to speak, but Flair interrupts him and tells him to shut up. Flair then starts ranting about his problems with Hogan throughout his life. Basically, he's just annoyed because Hogan gave away his Hall of Fame ring to the idiot Abyss. Flair then starts threatening Abyss and says tonight he will beat Abyss up with the Hall of Fame rings on the line. Backstage, it's the beautiful people. Madison Rayne is the new Knockouts champion, which she won at Lockdown. She will make her first title defense against 2 former champions tonight. Madison then says that she is the reigning champion. Very funny, Madison. Apparently it will be against Tara and Angelina, who don't happen to like each other very much. I've just realised Angelina Love won that Knockouts title like 2 weeks ago in that TNA Knockouts Lockbox Challenge, that stupid match. And now Madison's the champion already. What was the point in it? Let's bounce over to Raw. Raw is a special 3-hour show tonight as it's the night of the 2010 draft. TNA is basically screwed because this is always a good night for ratings in WWE. I don't think I've ever watched a draft before, apart from the first ever draft in 2002, when it was Flair and Vince feuding. And of course I've played it on the SmackDown Here Come the Pain season mode and PS2. If it's like this, it will be cool. The winner of each match tonight will win a draft pick for their respective brand. The Unified Tag Team titles are up for grabs first, as Show Miz come out. At the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, Miz's big mouth got the team in trouble and they were forced to compete in a gauntlet match. Whichever team managed to beat them would win a shot at the tag titles on this show, and that just so happened to be the Hart Dynasty, so Big Show's not too happy with the Miz here. Miz is on the mic and says they are facing the Hart Dynasty, who they've been feuding with for a while. The feud is really just building up to the Miz versus Bret Hart. On the last Raw, the Hart Dynasty lost to Show Miz, and the deal was that Bret would have to admit that Show Miz were the best tag team of all time. Bret comes out and actually says that Show Miz are the best tag team of all time, fair play to him. But then he also goes on to say that the Mountie is the best Intercontinental Champion of all time, and that David Arquette is the best World Champion of all time. The commentary team start laughing about David Arquette. Out come Tyson Kidd and David Hart Smith. The match begins and Tyson Kidd does some dodgy looking bounces on the ropes, and then he kicks Miz a few times. David Hart Smith then comes in and hits a massive delayed suplex. On the outside, Hart Smith knocks the Miz over. This has been all one-way traffic so far. Big Show eventually gets the tag in and kicks Tyson Kidd down with ease. He then picks him up and choke bombs him in the air. Not seen that before from Big Show, but it looked cool. Big Show then chucks Tyson Kidd across the ring and tags back into the Miz. What was the point, Big Show? You could have won this match on your own. Miz then starts taunting Bret Hart, and this allows Tyson Kidd to almost pin him for the free. Tyson is desperate to tag out here, and he does eventually manage to get David Hart Smith back into the match, who easily beats up The Miz. There were then a couple of pinning, he can only get a 2 count. Miz then tries to cheat with his feet on the ropes, but Bret Hart kicks his feet off the ropes. Big Show objects to this interference and tries to beat up Bret Hart, but Tyson tonight. I've got quite a lot to talk about here, so I'll start with Raw first as it's fresh in my mind. Raw was a little bit less boring than usual, and the matches were good. It was also quite interesting to see that the Hart Dynasty won the unified tag belts. I honestly didn't realise they won any serious gold. The only thing I disliked about this show is the whole draft thing. I really don't understand why anyone would tune in specifically to watch the draft. There's no drama to it, and it's not really like it affects anything, because the main stars just show up on Raw or SmackDown regardless of what brand they're on, so why does anybody care about it? Okay, TNA, look, I know I probably exaggerate sometimes for the purpose of entertaining you guys. I am not exaggerating at all here. This TNA show, it was bad. This was the most over-the-top, all-over-the-place show I've ever seen. Find this show and watch it if you can. I promise you won't be disappointed. I was staring in shock at my screen at times at what I was seeing. I couldn't even follow this, and I like to pride myself on being in the know when it comes to TNA. I actually had to rewind 10 times during this video, just because I kept missing things. They chose to focus the show around Jesse Neal and Shannon Moore, and the formation of a new tag team, which in principle sounds okay. But then you realise the team consists of Jeff Hardy's stoner friend and a complete jobber. They won 0 tag belts, Inkink sucks, and this was a complete waste of time. Whoever booked that should be fired. And that main event of Flair and Abyss, that was one of the most ridiculous main events I've seen in a long time. At this time, TNA had one of the most talented rosters in the history of pro wrestling, but you wouldn't know it from the way this show went. Shannon Moore, Jesse Neal and the Dudleys, they got like 3 segments each. Whilst Beer Money, Motor City Machine Guns, Desmond Wolfe, Amazing Red, the Young Bucks, none of these talented guys got a second on this show. Do you know what else? I counted 31 different wrestlers on this show, and this show is only 2 hours including adverts. Guess how much wrestling there actually was on this show? I timed it, 21 minutes. You cannot properly focus on a wrestler when you're doing that. It's impossible. They need to stop focusing on the wrestlers who aren't good and focus on the ones that people actually want to see. This show reeked of desperation because they knew they were up against it tonight with Raw having the draft. There's a lot of talk about how bad 2010 TNA is, and throughout this series I really haven't agreed with that. Yes, there have been some dumb moments and hirings, like Nasty Boys, Bubba the Love Sponge, Abyssomania, but those are just moments, they're not entire shows. But let me tell you, when people say 2010 TNA, this show is the definition of it. It's the worst episode I've seen, and that even beats the Eric Bischoff episode. On a side note, it wasn't boring, so it had that going for it. Rant over. Anyway, let's see what the ratings are doing, because Raw usually does really well on these draft episodes. Okay, so Raw gets a 3.3. That is their highest rating since the post-Raw WrestleMania, so that's good for them. TNA, let's see if they're in trouble. A 0.5. Oh god. That is by far their worst in this Monday Night War series. They lost 48% of their audience. That is vastly below the average numbers they did before they moved to Monday nights. It sounds like TNA have been battered tonight, and it's probably going to be game over for them. However, we all know that there's one episode left in this series. I would like to do something special, but I have no idea what. So if you could leave some comments down below on things you'd like to see me do for the next episode, and then we'll have a vote on it or something like that. So this will be like a fans episode. We can all have a laugh together on this one. Anyway, remember to share and like this video because I need the help. And I hope you enjoyed watching tonight. And if you didn't, no offence.